Why don't we just get started with the beginning? Mr. Chair, I don't know if you wanted to just take on the first item, which I believe are the minutes. I think you're muted, Mr. Chair. You might have to unmute. All set.
Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Are there any discussion about the minutes at all?
Basically, I agree with everything.
Okay, so we need a motion to, we need a second to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, so the minutes approved. So let's move on to the financial report, Tom.
Great. So Bokul's provided a summary for July. He's working on getting the full summary for the end of the fiscal year, which concluded at the end of June. So we should have that for you guys in between this meeting and the next meeting. We can send that along. And he might even have that finished already. So maybe we might be able to get that out today. As far as our income numbers, it's not surprising to see that we're down a little bit in income. I think it's down about 30,000. Really, it's as a result of the lower monthly revenues. We've had kind of expected a gradual, climb from our monthly parkers, less so from the transient parkers and event parking because of the restrictions that are still in place. But we've seen a slight trickle up on our monthly parking. We haven't seen as much of a bounce back as we'd like to see. But at the same time, according to our planning, it's looking pretty accurate to what we had kind of conservatively put in place anyways. So looking, for example, for our expenses, we're actually under by about $49,000. So we netted a positive this month, even though we didn't take in a lot of revenue because we kind of have our belts tightened at this point. You know, we're in that mode where we're really, we're trimmed down on expenses. Yasser and Sonny and I meet pretty much every week to go over our numbers and see if we can adjust anything to make us a little bit better. So far, we're doing okay with that, but we'd really love to see the income numbers start ticking up so we don't have to worry so much about the expense numbers. So debt service is really, challenging when we look at our numbers. The relationship we have with our bondholders is still very solid, and they've been made aware of everything that's going on as far as both our operations and what our projected numbers are, and also where we are with the state, with the Civic Center, because that factors in quite a bit to the outstanding debt obligations that we have. So looking at our numbers, our numbers obviously are below the required 1.2 for debt service for this month. That's not unexpected given the numbers that we knew we'd be getting in. The bank is perfectly comfortable with where we sit right now. We do have reserves in place. Our rainy day fund is capable of having us pay our debt service out without a problem. It's similar to as we reported back in April. We knew we'd be getting to this point, soon, where our debt service numbers would be, well below where we wanted them to be. But we've had good communication with the bondholders, so that's not presently a problem. And based on the timeline for the Civic Center project, it doesn't look like that's going to be a problem at all for us. And it looks like we'll be able to pay out on the bonds well before any debt service issues creep up. On-street operations, we generated about $73,000 gross revenues for the city. A lot of our enforcement activity does not count in July. We weren't able to start enforcement through the city's orders until about the third week in July. So that's why those numbers look so far down. Based on my discussions with our on-street management and Yasser's group, our numbers look really good for on-street now. It's kind of been the beacon of bright light in our income portfolio. We've been able to write citations almost in line with where we were before the pandemic, and our collections are creeping right back to where they should be as well. So that's a good sign for us that on-street is the first thing to bounce back, and it looks like it's already doing that. So hopefully our next report, when you guys get the financials in, it'll have a nice robust number in this category. Same thing with the towing. We really were restricted from towing based on the city's instructions, and we've sort of picked up booting and towing in accordance with what the treasurer's office has asked us to do. And I think you'll see that number start to climb again.
Yeah. 3 grand.
The last kind of thing I'll say on finances will relate to really the first item in the report, which is the kind of review of the budget for fiscal 21 and more of a formal ratification of what we talked about in June for what we think this budget will look like in the fiscal year coming up. So essentially, we've had a good month and change in this fiscal year to take a look at what we budgeted and see, is that in fact accurate? Are we on target? Because it's a bit of a moving target at the moment with the restrictions, from the government being stuck in the first part of phase 3. We're really not going to be able to project certain revenues to return to us. For example, like special event revenues, we don't really know when those are going to come back. So it's kind of thrown us into a situation where, when we were in June putting together the final touches on the budget, Bokul did a good job of being very conservative with how quickly certain income numbers would be rebounding. And, it's been pretty close to accurate right now. We're slightly under where we were hoping to be, but the trending does look pretty accurate. So we're hoping, by the time we get to October, that we're looking a lot better in our monthly category, and our transient numbers and our event numbers have taken a slight bump up as well. Again, events probably won't be back to normal until into 2021. But we do expect transients and office business to pick up as we get into the fall. So what I would look for from the board tonight is really just a vote kind of affirming that, the budget we proposed tentatively in June is in fact the budget we're going to adopt. But we also recognize that we were going to be looking to amend where needed, and that it's very likely that we're going to do this on a month-to-month basis for probably the next couple months, just to see, are we trending indeed in the direction we thought we would be, which right now it does look like that, or, are things, totally different than we were anticipating, and we need to amend this budget significantly. And that may be the case, but I'm hopeful that we won't have that issue. So
I had a couple of questions concerning that.
Sure.
I noticed that it shows repair and maintenance is about $90,000 higher than 2020 without the Civic Center. Is that accurate?
I think that. Yeah, good question, Mr. Chair. Good question. That particular item, I believe, is relating specifically to what we're anticipating for elevator repairs at Taylor Street. We had talked about doing major repairs at Taylor before we hit the financial kind of crisis here with this pandemic. That number was somewhere in the vein of $500,000 to $800,000 potentially for that job. A big important part of that is the issues with that elevator. It's a single elevated facility. So it's really the only one of our garages where we have this problem. And, we've done our best to repair it bit by bit. And Danny has worked well with EP to try to keep it operational. But we suffered some severe damage to the elevator when the fire department, opened the doors. This is about a year and a half ago, and really did some severe damage to the unit. We've been doing our best to get repairs done. We have new doors that are in fact going to be coming in too, to hopefully alleviate this issue in the short term. But when Otis went in to do the inspection, they told us flat out, your best bet is to replace the whole unit. You'll have a brand new elevator that'll be operational and functional, and you won't have, piecemeal repairs being made, 8,000 here, 10,000 here. It's just, at this point, that's what I believe our capital repairs look like. We don't have any major repairs set for north or south at the moment, because we're still going to deal with the state and re-up in our lease with them, and that'll be part of that discussion. And at Civic Center, obviously, we're putting on hold anything that's not an emergency. And Desmond, with their last inspection, has not flagged anything that we need to fix. So at the moment, we're just going to, sit in the holding pattern until the next inspection, or hopefully until we do a closing.
Okay. The other question I had was that without the Civic Center being in operation, I noticed that the utility expenses are about the same as 2020. Does the Civic Center not have a lot of utility expenses because of there's no heat and that kind of stuff?
I mean, it does have utility expenses. So I think what you're seeing is that, we're trying to be conservative with regard to utility costs. We had, we've all received that notice about the water and sewer increases. You know, I think it was the projected 19%, and they ended up doing it about 9.5%.
That's true.
You know, there's a number of these increases that we're anticipating are going to take place. So I think what you're looking at with the utility number is there's going to be, you know, expense that comes off the books for Civic for us for sure, but it's probably going to get offset by the fact there's going to be some increases, and if there's less than anticipated, that's sort of a savings we're going to be happy to take.
Okay.
But I think for Bokul and I, we both looked at it and went, you know, this has been trending up for a while now. Let's leave it at the even mark, and then that way, if we save some money, we can put it in our pocket and not worry about it.
Yeah, be a little concerned. Okay, that's good. Excellent, John. Thanks.
No problem. So what I would say is just kind of a vote of the board ratifying what we voted on to approve in June with the budget the way it looks currently, and then the understanding we will absolutely be talking about this next month and the month after, because we really want to get a good idea of where this is headed.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the budget as written.
I move the motion to be for the budget. I make a move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so is there any discussion at all?
I think already we discussed the 2 points that you brought, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so all in favor of the budget being approved?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, so it's approved.
Aye.
Okay, so let's move to the next one. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. So on to the next item very quickly, Civic Center garage update. I'll be talking a little bit more about this when we do the resolution, but we've been working with the state Convention Center Authority and Administration Finance Department to really get the finishing touches put on the term sheet that we had approved previously. As of now, nothing substantive at all has changed, which is excellent news for us. The deal is very much like we approved back in April when we were talking about the term sheet. The value on the sale is the same. The timing is anticipated for the end of September. So, you know, right now what we're working through is the construction schedule. And obviously with a project that's this important, you know, we want to see that there's a date certain that there's going to be completion of the new garage. And we want to make sure that we have that information, you know, in hand within our contracts. And that's really the last point that we've been negotiating. I had another call this morning with the president of MCCA and the deputy over at A&F, and it was a good call. I think we have language that can work for everybody, and I'm sort of, you know, looking for approval from their side now. Again, it's not a substantive term with regards to us having to approve a person's sale today. I still think we can move forward with that, but that's really where we are at the final stages, looking to get this thing executed. Is let's figure out how we get a schedule in place that everybody's okay with, and you know, those are more dates in the calendar than anything else. So I think that we're really on the half-yard line. And, you know, as I referenced, we've had our inspections continuing with Desmond just to be sure that we can continue to operate. They haven't flagged anything major, and, you know, they're basically telling me we're going to keep doing inspections until you guys sell. So that part looks okay for now. Yasser's group has done a good job kind of keeping the place secured and clean. We have had a little bit of silver lining with the pandemic at the Civic Garage because we haven't had a high level of usage. So really with regard to maintenance and wear and tear, we've been able to save a little bit there throughout the summer. So that's my latest update for Civic. Like I said, I'll speak a little bit more about specifics when we get to the resolution, but so far it's all very good news on a front that's not always good news. So City Stage leasing update. I'm pleased to announce that I have on the agenda for the board's consideration today, both of the proposed leases for City Stage, one for Focus Springfield for their black box theater and the Fathers and Sons Lounge and the office space, and then also for Les Soupes, their ownership looking to lease the main theater space and the main lobby space and the dressing room areas back there in the backstage piece for the theater. And you know, both of those are in response to the RFPs, if the board remembers, that we put out.
Right.
The proposals can work together. We've had both design teams sitting down and talking to each other, and it's been very successful so far, to the point where both of those leases are on the, you know, the final stages and, you know, are really looking to be approved tonight. What we would be looking at is capital improvements to City Stage throughout. So the focus group is going to be doing upgrades and capital improvements to put in a television studio within the Black Box Theater and a green screen studio within the Fathers and Sons Lounge. They're going to redo and update a bunch of the office space as well to make for different classrooms and stuff that can be used by the community. So that's an exciting proposal for us. And also, likewise, Leasing's proposal is sort of, to bring back the entertainment factor to City Stage for live entertainment at the main theater, and also to have access to have events within the main lobby and have that redone so that we have, kind of a full entertaining space down there for modern shows and for, overflow even from the restaurant space to be able to use the lobby. So we're in the final stages of negotiation with Leasing as far as details go for the budget for the project. And that will really kind of color the amount of, rent that we'd be looking to have from them. Right now, that's sort of the one outstanding term we have. But I think we can work through that within the next couple of days. So I'm pretty confident that we'll be ready. With Focus, we really have all the terms nailed down completely. The only issue we're dealing with them is more about scheduling. So they're both really in front of the board for your approval. And if something changes that's substantive, that's different than the board agreed to today, I'll certainly come back to you for another second approval if the deal changes to that degree. So okay. I'm happy to report in both of those. It's a potential major influx of revenue for us. The Focus lease alone is about $68,000 in year one, and continuing through the terms of their lease up, and I think their rental rate goes into the 70s at a certain point. And similarly with Leasing, there's a lot of capital that they're bringing to the table to make repairs out of their own pocket, and we'll be looking to take advantage of that and structuring their lease accordingly, but also reaping the benefit of having a completely redone facility that we own. So both proposals really forward the goals of the SPA when we started this process. So I'm very excited to kind of be taking that action today.
And they will be paying their own utility bills, right?
Yeah, all the groups will be responsible for their utilities. We as landlord are responsible under the law for providing the water. So we'll be kind of stuck doing that. But everything else, heat, electricity, internet, that fun stuff.
Okay.
That goes to the two tenants.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would like to suggest that we set up a time so we could, as a board, visit the place and just, I don't know if it's curiosity or responsibility, but somehow we should, at least 2 or 3 of us.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's a good idea, Commissioner. I think what I'd like to suggest is I can set up a meeting with both groups kind of separately, and then kick around a time that's convenient for the members to see when you want to come down.
Yep.
It would be the type of meeting where if we ended up with 3 members, we'd have a quorum, so we'd get stuck sort of not deliberating or discussing too much, but receiving information is okay. You can certainly go around and listen to the presentation from the 2 groups as to what they plan on doing. But if we had 3 people or more, we'd have to be careful. We don't want to violate open meeting law, so we really limit it to just receiving information.
Right, basically.
Thank you.
Yep.
But I can do that.
Yep.
After this meeting, I'll send a shout out to my contacts at Focus. And see, if they're available next week, maybe before Labor Day, to have some of the members come down and do a walkthrough of the space to see what they're going to do.
Okay, I'm not available the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Okay. All right, so maybe we'll try to do it for the end of the week there. That might make the most sense.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So that takes us through to the capital improvement updates. Taylor Street, I discussed very briefly about the elevator. That's really our main concern over at the garage. Danny did a really good job with Yasser's group dealing with the roll doors. We finally got the roll doors back to operation. As you recall, when we put in the new system with Amano, it messed up the programming and the 2 softwares didn't seem to want to cooperate. We finally got the roll door manufacturers and the programmers from Amano at the same time at the same place, and they were able to resolve it. So Taylor Street now has all functioning locks, doors, and everything as it should. Again, that's something we've been taking care of periodically, but the roll doors themselves have been a headache for a while. We finally got it resolved. So that's nice. Let's see, Morgan Square, we're doing some tree removal and tree cutting and trimming, which is necessary. It shouldn't be too expensive, but it's really something where we want to avoid liability of anything falling on any cars or any people. So we're going to be taking some trees down over there. And then Bridge Street, the Columbus Center garage, what I would like to do is I'd like to take a look at our signage here, and I had Danny go out and get some quotes as to, how we can update and modernize our signage. If you recall, when City Stage, the Spotsy, left City Stage, their old signage is all still attached there, and it's really, I think a need for us to take a look at even our awnings and basic signage and outside the building. I don't think the number is going to be too expensive, but I do think it's worth updating. At the same time, this garage is the Columbus Center garage. Its address is actually a Bridge Street address. So what I was thinking of doing is taking the garage and having it put as the Bridge Street garage. We might maybe do a naming of the facility to be more accurate for people. Because I think when people look at Columbus, they're thinking it's on East Columbus or West Columbus. And you really have no idea that it's actually on Bridge Street and Worthington Street. So,
it's confusing.
So it's a little confusing. So I think maybe updating our signage to help people understand that, the garage is located here and that this isn't a separate thing, that there's no entrance on Columbus. It might make more sense.
Right.
Did Danny get the quotes already, or is he still getting them?
He does have one, but I think we were trying to get a couple. It wasn't really a high cost. I want to say it was, between 15 and 10,000 total for all the signage inside and outside of the building. So what I think I'd like to propose is if we have 3 proposals that are reasonable, I'll shoot around some, renditions to the group, and I can kind of just seek your input at that point. And if everybody says they're comfortable with what it looks like, then we'll just go ahead and take care of it.
Okay.
I want to provide you a name of a minority business that does signs. I don't know what kind of signs, if they even do these kind, but yeah. I'll give you the name anyway later.
I'll say, Commissioner, send me an email with that contact. I'll forward it to Danny and he can get in touch.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Tom,
okay, so that's what I have for my report for the executive director. I do have 3 items on new business, all 3 of which I briefly talked about. The first one is Resolution 16-75. It's authorization to execute a lease with Focus Springfield for a portion of the City Stage unit, which was under RP 2020-03. Now, as I discussed, this lease is very much as we've been talking about all along. It's for the improvement of the portion of the City Stage unit for the Black Box Theater, the Green Screen Theater at the Fathers and Sons Lounge, and for the office space in the lower floor of the unit. The lease is going to be paying us starting out at $68,000, and Focus is contributing money of its own, $300,000 towards the capital repairs. We have received a grant from the Gaming Commission from the state to facilitate these repairs as well. That grant is in the amount of another $300,000. So there's a portion of repair work that we will be taking on. There will be a designer process and a bidding process under the public procurement statutes to get a general contractor to do the work that we're responsible for. And then Focus will have a portion that they'll be doing under their tenant fit out with the money that they have. So the combined total budget's probably about $700,000 in change. Because this is a publicly owned facility, we'll be doing the work with all prevailing wage and under the mass bidding statutes. Because of that, some of the cost gets inflated. So what I've been negotiating with Focus is that, if we end up down the road where our budget looks, a little bit higher than we thought it was going to be, that we can come to the table and negotiate something that makes sense. Perhaps there's like a discounted rent we do for a couple of years to offset the cost, or perhaps there's a little capital that we're able to come up with to take care of certain expenses. That's all something, again, it's very theoretical, but I wanted to make sure that they understood, it's important to us that we do everything above board at all times. This board has always been very clear that, that's an important priority for them with our contracting. And, this project really is the same way for me, that I want to make sure that we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, and that we don't run into a situation where we have, a tenant doing things that we don't want them to be doing. So with that in mind, I'll be looking to have the lease approved at this point. The term of the lease is for 15 years, and I believe they have an option to push it to 20 years if that's possible. The second lease we're going to be entertaining, I believe, is also a 15-year term. I think these leases both deserve to have terms that have certain length to them. When we did the RP, we anticipated a long-term tenancy, and we also anticipated there'd be an investment of capital that would sort of warrant a longer term. As you recall, when we did, the lease at Cobalt, there was a certain amount of length of time we needed to give there because there's a certain amount of work that needed to be done. So we ended up going with like a 10-year term potentially versus like a 5-year term. And I think this is a very similar scenario where you have entities coming in looking to spend their own money, looking to provide a service to us by having an active tenancy that benefits us. And at the same time, having some security with the term does make sense. So I would be looking for an approval for focus under those kind of parameters, and similarly for the Leasing. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. We've discussed the terms on this a number of times. I feel like the board has had a chance to kind of digest what it is we're looking to do. And again, I can't thank Focus and Leasing enough for kind of coming to the table with two proposals that really on paper made sense. And then throughout this process, really coming to every meeting prepared and ready to kind of advance a real project on both sides. And I'm really happy to have two real projects for the board to look at today that are both upgrade that space.
Okay, is there a motion to approve, guys?
Well, Mike, I will make a motion to approve the
lease agreement.
Yeah, it would be for the first lease agreement. So approval of resolution 1675.
1675.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I think I saw Commissioner Nichols say second. Yeah.
Oh, he's on mute.
He was on mute, I thought, but I saw him say it.
I saw his mouth. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion.
All right, thank you. On to the next item. Resolution 1676 is also a lease for the portion of the city stage unit. Again, as I previously described, this is the lease for the main theater renovations and main lot renovations. Very exciting concept. This is the second sort of proposal we sat down and negotiated. Very similar to Focus. This group's coming to the table with money in hand and capital to try to build out a space that desperately needs to be upgraded. The vision that I was, given from this bidder, as the board is very well aware from the proposals we received, is really to try to bring back live entertainment to city stage in full earnest. Really bringing in a lot of family-oriented shows that we've been doing in the past, but also to bring in acts of live entertainment that meet a certain need for, Friday night, date night type entertainment too. And that's something that, Sonny, and I use his formal name. He's on the screen named as Yasser. He's got that picture. It's very nice. And Kay, we sat down and they were very clear that they really want to do this top notch, and that, as evidenced by, the results at Leasing, there's really no expense to be spared from what they're planning on doing. And it's exciting to think that, in a period of time where we're, maybe 18 months from now, that we really could have a top notch facility on our hands and have money coming in our door because of it. Right. So we're looking again to have a term. It's a 15-year term on this lease. The exact number of the rent is still being negotiated. So I would like to have you do a formal approval tonight with the caveat that I will bring back to you the exact rental amount at our next meeting, and you guys can ratify that amount. If there's questions as to it, we can go back to the table and negotiate more. But I wanted to at least let you know that we're on the 1 yard line, and I think it made sense to come tonight to talk.
Okay, great. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve 1676. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Second.
And we need you to take your mic off mute for a second.
I'm not on mute. I seconded the motion.
Not you.
I think we're trying to get Commissioner Nichols.
Yeah. Your mic is on mute, Commissioner Nichols.
I think his screen might be frozen.
Oh, okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so we'll mark three yeses and one potential yes. We'll wait to get his response. That's okay.
Okay, motion approved.
All right, on to the last resolution. This is resolution 1677. It is for the authorization and approval to execute a purchase and sale agreement with the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority relative to the property at 41 Harrison Avenue in Springfield, Massachusetts. So we've gotten to the stage of negotiations in the purchase and sale where we've basically ironed out any wrinkles that were there that weren't set forth in the term sheet. And a lot of this deals with the timing involved. and specifically what needs to be done before closing could actually take place. Part of that is assembling documents, which I've been doing, getting together different contracts that relate to the building. The state would take over, essentially we would be assigning, and the state would be taking over all the contracts related to the property, and they would be continuing to operate it until such time that they had to conduct the demolition and do the construction of the new garage. Yasser's group, executive parking, will be assigned over as the operator of the facility. So Yasser's still going to be on site even after we don't own the building anymore, because we have a contract with them and it relates to the property. He'll be getting paid through the Convention Center Authority, through the state, for his services, but it will be in line with the terms that we have under our contract.
Right.
Similarly, any elevator contracts or other types of removal, snow removal stuff that relates to the building will get turned over to the state as well. So we did a lot of due diligence between, late March and early April, and now getting the document to a form where we could get it signed as a purchase and sale. The one outstanding item I think that's left is really the schedule for completion of the new facility. It's something that's very important to us, I know. It's certainly very important to the city. When will a new garage be available for parking? It's sort of a question I think the public has. And that's something that we're trying to iron out and solidify at this moment. The tentative schedules that I've been looking at, it looks like you're going to see the facility open in 2022 at some point. Hopefully, by the end of that year, you'll have the full completion and certificate of occupancy granted. There's a lot up in the air with regard to construction scheduling at the moment, as you might expect with COVID. There's materials and shipping issues that are sort of making it a little bit unclear as to what construction schedules might look like. I know I have a couple of other projects that I'm dealing with the same thing on. So my hope is that we'll have a real set schedule within the next couple of weeks that we can put on paper. But what I look for the board tonight is just to have an approval of the term sheet, or the terms of the purchase and sale as they stand now, which are, again, identical to what we agreed to in our term sheet. So at the moment, we do not have a closing date set. That is, again, something that I anticipate would be at the end of September. But we'll have a meeting before we do that, and I'll be able to bring to the board the details about the closing date and the details about the exact date certain for completion of their project. That's hopefully something, like I said, we'll have in a short period of time, but I thought it made sense, again, to come to you guys with this on the half-yard line to say, I think we're ready for approval, our terms are the same, the money's right, the timing's the same, and all the paperwork looks good so far, and I think that, we're happy to be in this position. We're not quite at the very end yet, so we'll pop the champagne when we're there, but this is a nice milestone to reach. It really is, getting from the term sheet to this point was not easy, but we've gotten there. And I think that with one or two more meetings, we'll be able to get everything else hammered out and be able to sign this.
Okay. Hey, Maurice.
Is he on?
He's on mute. Yeah, his camera's back, but he's still on mute.
Maurice. He's still not able to hear us.
Chair, do you need a motion?
We need a motion to approve the authorization to execute a purchase and sale agreement with the Massachusetts Convention.
I would like to make a motion to approve 1677.
Second.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and we'll do the same. We'll say
And presumably
yay for Maurice. We can always clarify that at the next meeting. We'll do the minutes, and then he can say, we'll amend the minutes to include his yes. If it was a yes, I don't want to be presumptuous.
Yeah.
Okay, so as of now, that's all the business we have. I would like to set a meeting for us on the 22nd of September. That's the third Tuesday. I don't know if everybody's schedule is okay with that. I can move it around a little bit, but I'd like to try to do it that week if we could, because I don't want to get too far down into September.
September 22nd, that's good with me.
It's good with me.
I believe it's good. I'm on the track, so.
Commissioner, just let me know if it's not good. We can kick it around to a better one. For now, we'll just tentatively say the 22nd of September. And
hey, Tom, I had one question, Tom.
Sure.
In relation to the sale of the Civic Center garage. Now, could you reiterate what we had talked about previously about what are we doing with those monthly parkers? I mean, real briefly.
So monthly parkers have been given the option for some time now to relocate to the South Garage. And we've been giving people, you know, key cards, and Yasser and Sonny and I have had these operational discussions. You know, this is, I want to say summertime last year, we were having this discussion. And we've been sending kind of notices to the groups, you know, throughout the last year or so, giving the indication that, you know, if they want to relocate, now's the time. You know, a lot of times it was because of different repair work we were doing, but we started to reference as well that, you know, the possibility of the garage closing at a certain point, which, you know, is an inevitable fact. So, you know, we've seen a number of people switch over to South Garage. The issue for us is that, you know, we're looking to have more of a ramped up effort at bringing over monthly parkers during those months of, you know, April, May, June, July, as we crept towards the sale, you know, not wanting to alarm people in January that, you know, they needed to move right away because it really wasn't necessary then. And we ran into the issue with the COVID pandemic. So what
Right.
occurred then was that all the monthly parkers and all the garages just stopped parking. So we got a lot of requests, as you guys are aware, for people looking to reduce their parking obligations for us, or looking to postpone until they get back to work in the office full time. Civic's absolutely been like that. So at the moment, you know, we don't have a whole lot of parkers in the garage. Yasser, I don't know if you, off the top of your head, you had our car counts. I know we were talking about it on Friday, but, you know, we haven't seen a big uptick in our numbers for occupancy in the garages yet. And
the occupancy has been the same. We average like 100 park a day over there.
Yeah, I mean, 100 a day in Civic, you're lower than 10% there. That's
right.
Not great. And it's just, you know.
I mean, we went from 700 parkers to 100.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's not surprising, but that is sort of, you know, why it's a little challenging to try to reach out to the monthlies to try to move them out of Civic when there's nobody there now, you know. And what I would hope happens is that as we get to the deadline for a sale, that we send out our notices as expected, and we get responses from people saying, yes, we do want to park. We are, you know, happy parking the South. We're coming back in January, or something to that effect. Whereas of right now, the answer we've gotten essentially the end of the year is a lot of people's coming back. It's gone from September to December. So, you know, we're still working to get as many parkers out of that facility as we can to put them into the South Garage to keep our revenue steady and strong. You know, but that's proven to be challenging, especially in light of the COVID.
Right. Okay, Tom. Thank you.
And, you know, overall, we have some very exciting plans. I won't get into too much detail, but I'll just kind of give a teaser right now. Bo Cool and Danny have done a really great job, and Azim too, spearheading this project that I've asked them to take up, which is a visualization or reimagining of our towing contract and how that's going to work going forward. And as the board's aware, we haven't been receiving the return on that contract as we historically would like to, and the city certainly hasn't been receiving what they would like to. And I think we'll have a proposal to discuss with the board next meeting that will really kind of change the way we've been doing that historically, and can open the door for some sizable revenues for us to be starting to collect. So, you know, we're really.
But there's no RFP for that, is there?
No, I mean, Commissioner, we had anticipated, say, a year or two ago, going out for a new contract, just bidding it out for a new contract. And what I think we came to a realization that we could be doing this differently and making a lot more money doing it. And that maybe the contract we bid out is a lot different than the one we thought was a full total operational management contract. And maybe it's more like a vendor contract, you know, and so in other words, I'm having my group put together a presentation. We're going to go to the city hopefully next week to get their permission to do this type of bid. And hopefully what it'll result in is us having a lot more control over what's going on, and also
that would be nice.
And us being able to make a lot more revenue for what's going on, because we certainly get the complaints and we certainly got to deal with the headaches. And, you know,
and we don't get a lot of reciprocity or even cooperation for the most part.
It can be problematic. You know, I'm sure the vendor we have does a great job and does the best they can, but I like the concept that was proposed by my group, and I'm very excited to send you guys that information and talk about it at length at the next meeting, because I think it could open the door for, again, replacement revenue is sort of like the word of, you know, the last 2 years for us, because we're looking to do the Civic project with the state. We got to replace revenue, and that's sort of, you know, it's all hands on deck for that. And this is an exciting potential for us. So that'll definitely be one of the starred points and highlights of the next meeting. But hopefully the city agrees with us. I'm sure they will.
Most likely. Okay.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for your flexibility. I apologize again. Hopefully our Zoom meetings are going to be limited to a couple more, and then we'll be back to kind of, sit down together. But thank you guys for your flexibility and understanding.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn the meeting today.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I saw Maurice's lips.
I think he said yes. Yeah,
Did I?
yeah, he said there he is. All
okay,
right,
guys.
Thank you so much.
Nice seeing you guys.
Thank you.
Have a nice Labor Day. Everybody be
Moore.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yacer.